This is Val Kistler.
Yes. That was a wonderful speech hearing that. But I met Kent and Betty in 1982 on the first tee box of the #2 golf course in Pinehurst. And we were signed up, not signed up, but they made you play with 4 people. And right away it was like instant. But when you met, and Betty was a delight. And you know, they always say behind every great man is a great woman. Well, there she is. And the daughter. And the son-in-law. But anyway, we met them on the tee box. And so at the end of it, Ken said to us, you know, I know you're staying up at the hotel, but he said, and you have dinner, but come over for dessert. And they had a house on the #5 golf course in Pinehurst. And so he told us many things that we filed away, and I could talk all day, so I'm going to leave it short. So from there, every time we would come down, that he was still in Washington, in that area, and they would come down. And we never called one another in between times. And so we'd come down, and they'd be here. It was like, you know, this is getting scary. So then one time we came down, and there were all these cars outside the place. And I said, George, we're having a party. Now, you're not going to ring the doorbell. I said, we always ring the doorbell. I'm going to ring the doorbell. And Ken came to the door, and he goes, oh, this is my retirement party, and you're here. This is wonderful. Come in. I'm from the car and said, no. He comes out of the car and said, you're one of our best friends. You get in here. So we celebrated that, and that was really nice. So then we kind of followed in his way. He said, you know, you should join CCNC. He said that it's going to be hard to get a starting time. And we go, well, all right, Ken. The next thing we know, we had an appointment that we were to be looked over and all that, and we became members. And so then we bought a condo up at the Pinehurst Manor. And they came to dinner one night, one of our trips, but by this time, they were here, and they lived there. And he said, you know, you should really be over there on the campus, because that's when we get get-togethers, we don't like to call people that they have to drive over here. They're right here, they can just drop in. Oh, all right, Ken. So we bought a golf house. So the next thing is, he goes, you know, he's holding this key in his hand. He said, I rented this house down on Lake Dornoch, which incidentally was right next to ours, not at that time, but, and so anyway, he takes us through it, and it's beautiful. We just loved it. We fell in love with it, you know. And he said, but it's not for sale, but keep it in mind. George hears from the neighbors at Art's house, and it's had a dinner, that it was on the market, and he said, oh, buy it, because he said it's the most rented house, and they park in a circle, and they're loud and all that. And George said, is it for sale? And he said, yes. George went right home and he called the man in Ohio, Dr. Light, and he said, I want to buy your house. And he said, do you know how much I'm asking for it? George says, whatever you're asking, I'm buying. And so he said, now what do I do to make this a good deal? He goes, in Ohio, a man's word is legal. And George says, well, we're from Pennsylvania, so ours is. So we ended up living there, once again, following in Kent's wake. And so that's just the way it was. Whatever he suggested, we did. And so Art, I think I've known him longer than you, because we met them at 19. But then we had good neighbors move in here. And now, I'm following in the wake of their daughter and son-in-law, and their 9 grandchildren, and they are adorable. So I'm happy, and I want to thank everybody for inviting me here.
Hi, my name is Melissa Swarbrick, and I'm a golf fitness instructor here in Pinehurst. And I met Admiral Carroll 17 years ago when he wandered into my facility and said he needed some help with his golfing. And after a couple of weeks of golf instruction, he came down and he said, Melissa, this stuff is fantastic, because you have got to come and talk to my men's golf group breakfast club. And at the time, I was working a lot out on the PGA Tour, and I said, you know, I've got to do this. Because from the day I met Admiral Carroll, I always called him Admiral. I knew he was a special man. So I came down, I spoke to the group, and about a week later, I got a really nice note in the mail from him. And over the years, he told me so many stories. He kept coming down for instruction, and there were 3 types of stories he told me. His golf stories, his military stories, and stories of his family. And those golf stories, I used to have to verify with Howard Stanley, Buddy Hines, George Korzeniak, all the good old boys. And those military stories, Korea, all the ships that he commandeered, they were incredible. But they paled in comparison to the stories of his family. And the love and the devotion he had for his family, and especially his wife, Betty, has stuck with me all these years. And when Betty got ill, his love and devotion grew even stronger. And I admired that man and everything he did. And that's probably why, after 17 years, I kept this note he wrote me, thanking me for coming to the men's breakfast, because it meant so much. Thank you.
You somehow remind me that I passed Ken's house one day, and the house has been re-roofed. New shingles had been put on, and I said, Ken, why did you do that? I mean, it looked like it was in perfectly good shape. He said, I was preparing it for the children. And I said, I wish I were one of your children. He said, well, no. Anything from you, Bob?
Sure, come on.
I guess there's people around you. You
So
can.
we're,
Be careful.
yeah,
Be
so
careful.
we're neighbors.
Your glasses.
We're neighbors to the Carrolls over on Oakmont. And we don't have all the old golf stories, although I remember playing with Kent and being gently put in my place as well. But, you know, our memories are ones of, taking the kids there for Halloween. Barbara can speak to that a little bit. We used to go take the kids there, and he and Betty both were just so kind and welcoming to us. This time of year with Christmas and so forth, I'm known for my tackiness and all the lights and so forth, and he always admired, he would make that comment. He enjoyed just seeing the place lit up.
Larry Hodges too, they'd always,
Yeah.
always give us a call, thank goodness it was not exactly, the Griswold's Christmas. Just
it's
lights,
not,
That electric thing on the side of the house, a little like this, but they always made us feel like we had made it prettier for them and that they had enjoyed it. The kids would sell their products from school, their candy bars, their wrapping paper, they were always so welcoming to them, and they just turned themselves inside out, every time they came to just make them feel. Although I would say, they would all say they had kind of a, not scared of him, but just a respect, a reserved admiration for him. We teasingly would call him Badham all the time because it said Vice Admiral Carroll, so we would go by Badham's house. I think his Badham. That became his nickname amongst us, Badham. But they were so wonderful. We did have an unfortunate situation where our wonderful rescue dog that started out this big and grew to 120 pounds, named Dexter, was, we were taking a walk, and he knocked Sweet Betty over, and she was so fragile, and she broke a bone, and it was so upsetting, because she was elderly, and just the grace and the way they handled that was just so, I was so touched by it, and we just wanted to do something, and they just handled it. It was never, it was an accident, it was never an issue. And I look at people today, and you fall over something, you want to blame somebody and sue somebody, and all these issues, and it was just who they were, and they were just so genuinely kind. And those blue eyes that just sparkled. Maybe he was flirting with me, I don't know.
I wondered why you were gone so long.
Even, when Betty was gone, you know, we'd be out to the mailbox and, you know, we would stop and he always had, you know, something to share and a tidbit. So we didn't know him like you all know them. I regret that we didn't develop the deeper stories and the time with him, but ours was always one that we knew that they were there if there was a need. He knew that we were there. Maureen designed their home that they now have the pleasure of owning. And we built kind of about the same time. And I know he said, you know, Maureen was up checking out your house because she's an architect and, you know, approving of your place as well. So we moved in reasonably close together. And, you know, we're just the neighbors that were there. And we adored both of them. And we do miss them. We had the pleasure of going to his funeral in Arlington as well. And what do they call the big, it's not a caisson, but the horse, what is it called? Yeah, every time, I knew I wouldn't be a military person because every time it went, I just thought, I would have taken a shot the wrong person. It's just amazing, but what a
They
beautiful
want
honor
to
it
put
was.
a gun in your hand.
To be there. I'm sorry, you started talking and I took the floor.
And there's something new about that?
But thank you for the pleasure of being here with you all today as well, unless you had one other thing.
Well, you know, talking about golf, Kent, the sixth hole, you know, is behind their house. And of course, we're right there. And he would always kind of go out there with a wedge and hit some balls in the back, as did I. So we kind of played our golf together on the sixth hole. And even up until, you know, he passed, he was still out there swinging that wedge, you know, just hitting a few balls. And we spent time just talking that way. And really, the other thing is his room, or the room that is the history of your life, you know, really, of his life and your lives, you know, to see all that was accomplished and all that was done. And it's a beautiful life that you had with your mother and father.
Well,
Thank you.
to get to know Maureen, I just can't speak. You know, they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And,
Here, here.
you were, it was a golden, delicious apple tree. And we're looking forward to lots of years with you too.
Anyone else want to share anything?
I was introduced to Admiral by Pete Peterson, who was a captain in the Navy, and he had fought through World War II. So I had them both over for dinner, and it was very unique. My wife and I are trying to do the best we could with two very forceful people, let us say it that way. And I was introduced, the Admiral was coming in, and he came in and we said hello. And then Pete Peterson came in, who was a captain. And I was stunned when the Admiral said, "Mr. Peterson, I'm happy to see you again." And that made everything to me about the kind of person he was. He never lived on anything but emotion and good feeling for everyone, even though he was an admiral.
We appreciate your being here. Ken Carroll, for those of us who knew him and those who don't, will remember him as somebody who made a significant difference to us and who created the sort of character this club was when we first joined. As we get older, we say to ourselves, "Oh, I wish these younger people were more like us." That would be wonderful. But there was a generation of people, especially those who've been through their military experiences and who had that kind of life, who had a sense of respect and value that was very important to the rest of us. It passed itself on. So we appreciate your being here. I hope you'll take some time to take a look at the plaque and that we can be able to see the slideshow of the materials. And we look forward to spending time with all of you as we remember Kent Carroll. Thanks very much for being here.